Hello everyone, my name is Jared Plikis, and I'm going to be talking about gun control and how it does nothing but hurt the law-abiding citizen. I'm going to be touching on 3 points today. The first point I'm going to be hitting upon is that guns are just tools, just like a hammer. Hammers do not build houses, people build houses using hammers and other such tools. Just like a firearm, firearms don't kill people by themselves, they're an inanimate object that can be used for harm or can be used for good. It all depends on the person behind the firearm. And they're both inanimate objects. You could put them both on a table, on a kitchen table, lock the room or lock the door, leave them for years, probably a decade, and they would both just sit there and rust. They wouldn't move at all. Second point being that there's a lot of misinformation around guns and concerning guns, mostly by news networks, big social media platforms, stuff like that. The first real big piece of misinformation is that guns are portrayed as these bad, evil items that everyone should stay away from. That's really not the case. The news really only covers the bad shootings and violent crimes with firearms, which most of those violent crimes aren't even done legally. There's a lot of them you don't even hear of because I think if it's not 3 or 5 or more people that get shot, it doesn't even make news headlines. But a lot of the violent crimes are done with illegal firearms, if it is even done with a firearm. In 1994, 300,000 guns were acquired illegally, either stolen, bought off the black market, stuff like that. So a lot of the guns that are used aren't even legal. So if this is the legal realm, imagine like a little globe here. Criminals come and they just go right around it. Criminals don't follow the rules. Rules don't apply to criminals. Laws don't apply to criminals. They don't care. They get what they want, when they want, however they want to get it. They don't get it legally. And the next piece of misinformation is that the AR-15 is bad. I don't know why the news focuses so much on the AR-15. I think it's because it looks scary. It looks like a military-style weapon, when in reality, the AR-15 was designed by Eugene Stoner for a civilian rifle, a civilian marksman rifle. It's actually a shrunken down version of Eugene Stoner's original design of the AR-10, and then the Air Force picked it up as a service weapon. I actually drew a little diagram here, just because we all know what the AR-15 is. You've probably heard of it, and you may or may not have a good image of it, but I took some dimensions off the internet and actually drew up 3 bullets here. So the first one, I measured in centimeters, 1 to 10 centimeters. This is a 5.56. This is what the AR-15 shoots. And here is the projectile. This is actually what comes out of the rifle, not the entire thing. This is just full of propellant in this white area, and the shaded piece is actually what fires. Now the tip of my pen, you know how big the tip of a pen is. This here is a 308. This was actually Eugene Stoner's original design. This is actually what it shot. Again, this is where the propellant is, and this is what it shoots. It's significantly bigger. And this is a 30-06. This is, again, the case and the projectile, what it shoots. So this one here, where they measure bullets in grains, it's kind of just a weight. The more grains, the heavier. We're not going to get into grains and what it equals and all that. But this is a 55 grain projectile. This is a 162 grain projectile. And this is 180. So this projectile here is almost 3 times the size of this one. And then this is 20 more grain. It can be 220, but it is heavier than 308, and there's a lot more powder behind it. The more powder, the faster it goes. To a degree, we're not going to get into a ton of ballistics, but the media doesn't like to cover ballistics. Some people argue that the 5.56, it's actually a 22 caliber. It's not adequate enough to do for war. It's used in the M4 platform, a fully automatic platform, which you cannot have in the US. They are illegal to everybody unless you have a Class 3 FFL, which is extraordinarily hard to get. Extraordinarily hard. So as I showed you, the 5.56 bullet really isn't as scary as the media makes it out to be. So the media says, well, let's ban guns. Okay, let's ban guns. Let's pretend guns are banned. So in Europe, 43% of the violent crimes, the homicides, are actually knife-related. So 43% of all the homicides are done with knives. And in the U.S., in 2020, there were 455 people killed with rifles. Now, these bullets here are all rifle calibers. So rifles in a general term, not just the AR-15. I think the AR-15 numbers are actually very low for how many people died. But in 2020, 662 people died from hands and feet. So you are more likely to die from hands and feet than you are to be shot with a rifle. I know, that is quite impressive. So there's a lot of misinformation. I don't think you've really heard on the news of someone dying from hands and feet as much as you've heard of people dying from firearms, even though the number for hands and feet deaths are higher. So let's still pretend that guns are banned. Okay, let's take a situation. A male husband, mental disease, angry, wants to kill his wife. He goes downstairs, grabs a kitchen knife or a frying pan, blunt force object, goes back upstairs, walks down the hallway, and kills his wife. Well, there was no gun involved. The wife is still dead. So it's not about the firearm. It's about the person. So my next point of misinformation is that they say the AR-15 is a war weapon, which, as I stated before, it was never intended for war. The reason why they use the 5.56 cartridge, again, is the small one, is because it's light. You can carry a lot of them, and at the end of the day, for soldiers, that's what really comes into play, is lightweight, mobility, stuff like that. It is a good cartridge for marksmanship, home defense, stuff like that. I'm not saying it's bad, but there are better options for maximum damage. I think the only reason why they don't like the AR-15 and want to ban it so much is because it looks scary. Even though these two cartridges right here hit a lot harder than a 5.56. And I bet you some of you have never even heard of these two cartridges. You've probably only heard about this one that the AR shoots. You've probably never heard of these two, even though these two are a lot more lethal in any standpoint. Any situation, those two are a lot more lethal. So my third point is that guns can be used for good. So let's say that you are a female and you weigh 120 pounds and you're in your house alone, 2 a.m., 1 in the morning, some guy breaks in. A big 300 pounds, 6'11", almost 7-foot male with a shotgun, which you can get to shoot 1-ounce slugs, which you've probably never heard of because they aren't covered, they are not scary, so it doesn't make a good story. But 1-ounce slugs are extremely devastating. They use them to blow hinges off doors. So he breaks into your house at 1 a.m. You have no idea what his intent is. He could want to steal your money. He could want to kill you and then steal your money. All of those violent things, those nasty things. What are you supposed to do? I mean, you can't fight him. You're a third the weight of the guy. So if you have a handgun, even a 9mm, which I believe is the most popular cartridge in the country, in the United States, if you had a little 9mm handgun, you could level the playing field and, we'll say, eliminate the threat. I know it's violent, but it's life or death here. Like if you're a small woman, 2 little kids, maybe 1 and 2, I mean, it's you or your family. I mean, him or your family. What do you want to protect? If you can't get out and it comes down to it, the firearm can really level the playing field. And if you're at a gas station, I mean, it can be used for self-defense. If some guy comes up to your car at 3 a.m. and you're a small, petite woman, what are you supposed to do if he has a gun? Supposed to stab him? No. Haven't you heard the saying, don't bring a knife to a gunfight? Pepper spray? Only good for 20 feet, maybe 30. So, I mean, if you have a firearm, you have so much greater of an advantage. And they can be used for bad things, just like a car. I think the other day a car drove into a parade and killed like 5 people. So anything can be used for harm. It's not the item. It's not the gun. It's not the hammer. it's the person behind it. I mean, just take a garden tool, for example, a chainsaw. I mean, if you can consider that a garden tool. A chainsaw is extremely dangerous. People have, it's called a kickback. It catches the wood, kicks up, and cuts them right here. I mean, they're dead. And that's an item you just go out and buy. I'm not saying they're bad. They have their purpose. I mean, what else are you supposed to cut wood with? A chainsaw. But, I mean, chainsaws are extremely dangerous. You could run at someone and just like that, chainsaw, they're dead. So in the conclusion, it's not about what you have, or if you have a firearm, it's not about the firearms. It's about the person with the intent to do harm. We need to focus on people and mental illnesses and helping these people. It's not about guns. I believe if we get more guns and train our kids what guns can do and what they're capable of, we'll have less violence, because I'm not going to want to mess with you if you have a gun. Even if I have a gun, I don't want to get shot. There's a very good chance I could die. I don't want to mess with you. So if we teach people about guns and why they're not so bad, and that they're just a tool for self-defense, asset protection, protecting your loved ones, they're not a bad thing. So I think we need to implement that into education and teach kids how to use them and how to be safe with them. Because yes, granted, they can be very dangerous, just like a car can be very dangerous. If you don't know how to drive a car, you hit a tree. Yeah, So I hope you enjoyed, and thank you.